I thought I was just a broke college dropout. Turns out I'm the sole heir to my estranged aunt's fortune. I found out my life was about to change forever from a stranger in a suit. I was literally down to my last $6 when the knock came on the door. No joke. I was eating dry cereal out of the box, curled up on my secondhand couch in this crusty one-bedroom apartment I was barely affording, thinking about whether I should sell my guitar or try Uber Eats again. Then, boom, 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 3 loud knocks. I opened the door, and standing there was a guy in a full suit, holding a folder with my name on it. My real full name, not Allie, not Alyssa, the whole thing. Middle name and all. He just looks at me and goes, "Are you Alyssa Marie Calloway?" My heart dr. And then he says, "I'm here on behalf of your aunt. She passed away last month, and she left you everything." I actually laughed in his face. I don't have an aunt. At least, I didn't think I did. My mom barely talked about her side of the family, and whenever I asked, she just said it was complicated. The only relative I even knew was my grandma, and she passed when I was 10. So yeah, I thought this was a scam. But he handed me the papers. There were photos, birth certificates, letters, even a photo of me as a toddler, sitting on the lap of a woman I didn't recognize, but something about her eyes looked familiar, almost like mine. Her name was Eleanor Calloway, my mom's older sister, a woman I'd never met, never even heard about, and she'd apparently been following my life from a distance. For years, she lived a few hours away in a massive estate just outside of the city. She never had kids, never married, super private and eccentric, according to the guy. But somehow, for reasons I still don't fully understand, she'd been keeping tabs on me. And when she died, she named me sole heir. Let me break it down. A 5-bedroom historical house on 13 acres of land. $320,000 in a trust fund. A classic Mustang, she was a car nerd apparently. And a letter addressed to me that changed everything. I'll never forget what the letter said. "Alyssa, I know this will come as a shock, and I'm sorry I couldn't be in your life like I wanted. But I've watched you grow from afar. I saw you graduate high school. I saw the video of you singing at open mic night. I saw how hard you've tried. Your mother and I, we made mistakes. She shut me out. But I never stopped loving you. Please don't let this gift feel like a burden. You deserve something good." I read it about 10 times before it sank in. I deserved something. No one had ever said that to me before. I don't even know how to explain the days that followed. There were lawyers, phone calls, bank visits, people treating me like I was someone important, when just days before, I was debating if I could afford toothpaste. And the house, don't even get me started. It's old and beautiful and smells like lavender and old books. Her room is still intact. She had photos of me as a toddler, as a teen, photos I never even knew existed. Like she'd been there somehow, always watching from a distance. Now I live here. I wake up every morning in this giant place that doesn't even feel real yet. I'm learning how to cook in a proper kitchen. I started painting again. I even reopened college applications. I'm not writing this to brag. I swear I'm not. I'm writing this because if you feel like life is only ever going to beat you down, hold on. You literally never know what's around the corner. And to anyone who grew up feeling like they've forgotten one in the family, sometimes, someone out there never forgot you at all. You just don't find out until later. She showed up at the house screaming. I thought telling my mom would feel healing. Like maybe this was the moment we'd finally connect. The first good thing in my life I could share with her. I imagined her hugging me, crying happy tears, saying something like, "She always loved you," or "This is your fresh start." Instead, she showed up at the gate of the estate 3 days after I moved in screaming. Like actually screaming my full name, banging on the gate intercom, shouting that she was my mother, and she had every right to come in. I buzzed her in because honestly, I was scared she'd camp out there all night. She didn't even wait for me to open the front door. She shoved it open, walked right into the hallway like she owned the place, and said, "How dare she give this to you?" I just stood there, holding a cup of tea like an idiot. She had an no right. This house, that money, that should have come to me, not you. That was when I realized this wasn't about love or loss. She wasn't shocked that her sister had died. She wasn't grieving. She was pissed she got left out. I tried to explain, I really did. I told her about the letter, how Aunt Eleanor had watched over me all these years, how she felt pushed out of the family, how she wanted to give me a real chance at a new life. But my mom, she just laughed. A bitter, hollow laugh I've never heard come out of her before. "Of course she did," she said. "That woman never stopped trying to steal from me. First my parents, then my friends, now you." And that's when it hit me. This wasn't new. This anger, this resentment, it went way back. So I asked, carefully, "Why did you never tell me about her?" My mom looked at me like I'd slapped her. "You think she was some innocent fairy godmother? You think she watched over you out of love?" She shook her head. She always needed to be the better sister, the favorite. I cut her out because I had to. Then, in the quietest voice I've ever heard her use, she added, "She tried to take you from me when you were a baby." My brain froze. What? She said I was unstable, that I couldn't give you a real life. She even called CPS once, said I left you alone while I went to work, which I didn't. I had a sitter, but that didn't matter. She had money. She had influence. She wanted custody. That. I didn't know what to say. I suddenly felt 10 years old again, caught between adults throwing blame across the room. Part of me wanted to defend my mom. Maybe she was doing her best back then. I mean, I remember long nights of macaroni and cheese, old movies, both of us wrapped in one blanket on a secondhand couch. She loved me. I know she did. But part of me also remembered being hungry, being cold, being afraid to ask for things because we never had enough. And maybe, just maybe, Eleanor saw that and wanted to help. But instead of helping, my mom shut her out. And now, all these years later, she was still more angry about the money than the loss. She stood in the hallway for another 10 minutes, ranting, telling me I was too young to handle an inheritance. That family money belonged to her. That she deserved this, not me. And then she said it. You don't even know what you're sitting on. She had secrets. And if you think that woman loved you, you're more naive than I thought. I didn't respond. I just stood there, frozen, confused, hurt, and maybe just a little bit scared. She left after that, slammed the door behind her so hard it made the stained glass panels rattle. That night, I sat in Eleanor's study, the one with all the books, the photos, the giant fireplace, and read her letter again. The last line hit different this time. You deserve something good. Don't let the past steal your future. I think she knew this would happen. I think she was preparing me. And now? Now I have to decide whether I want to dig deeper into this family history. The secrets, the pain, everything my mom never told me. Because something tells me, this story's just getting started. The box in the closet changed everything. After my mom's outburst, the house felt different. Heavier. Like her anger left behind some kind of residue. I kept catching myself jumping at creaks in the floor, second-guessing my decisions, replaying everything she said over and over. You don't even know what you're sitting on. She had secrets. If you think that woman loved you, you're more naive than I thought. That last one hit the hardest. Because honestly, I didn't think she loved me. And part of me wanted to just forget everything my mom said. To believe Eleanor was exactly who her letter said she was, a quiet, kind woman who tried to do right by me, even if it was from the shadows. But curiosity is a bitch. And something about the way my mom said, you don't even know, got under my skin. So I started digging. Not in a weird, conspiracy theory way, just looking around. Opening drawers. Browsing through her bookshelves, her jewelry boxes, her locked filing cabinet, which, by the way, took me 3 YouTube videos to figure out how to crack. Thank you, bobby pin trick. But it was in the closet, way in the back behind some moth-eaten coats, that I found the box. It was small, wooden, about the size of a shoebox, and it had my initials burned into the top, AMC. My full initials. My hands were actually shaking as I opened it. Inside, there were only 3 things. A faded black and white photo of a baby in a hospital bassinet, a locket, and a sealed envelope with "For Alyssa, when she's ready," written in Eleanor's handwriting. The photo was labeled on the back. Callaway, baby girl, July 2004. My birth month. I recognized the hospital name, too, the one where my mom said I was born. So was that me? Then I looked closer. There was another name scribbled beneath it, barely legible. Mother, Eleanor Callaway. I swear, I stopped breathing for a full 10 seconds. What the hell? No, that had to be wrong. Eleanor wasn't my mom. She was my aunt. My mom's older sister. Right? I opened the locket. Inside was a photo of her, younger, smiling. And on the other side, a picture of me as a toddler. I sat there for a long time just staring at it. Then I opened the letter. My dearest Alyssa, if you're reading this, it means you found the box. And that means it's time to tell you the truth. I am, biologically, your mother. Your mom, the woman who raised you, is technically your aunt. She took you in when I couldn't. Not because she stole you, and not because I didn't want you, but because I was in no shape to be a mother back then. I was sick, emotionally and physically. I was in a dark place. And she was the only one who didn't turn her back on me. She stepped up. But things changed between us. There was resentment, guilt, secrets. We made a deal to never tell you. I thought it was for the best. I thought I could stay in the background and support you silently. But not a day went by that I didn't regret not being there. You were, and always will be, my greatest love. That's why I left you everything. Not out of guilt, but because you deserve to finally have the truth. And a real chance at life. You were never forgotten. Never abandoned. Just hidden. And now, you get to choose what to do with that. Love always. Eleanor. I dropped the letter. I couldn't even cry. I just sat there in that dusty closet, feeling like the ground had been ripped from underneath me. My whole life, every fight with my mom, every awkward silence, every time I asked, why don't we have any family, suddenly made a different kind of sense. Eleanor was my real mother. And the woman who raised me lied to me for 19 years. I still don't know how to feel. Betrayed? Yeah. Grateful? Maybe. Shattered? Completely. But one thing I do know. This inheritance wasn't just about money, or houses, or gifts. It was about identity. And now, I don't know who I am anymore. What else have you lied about? I didn't sleep that night. I just sat on the floor with the letter in my lap, rereading it until the words blurred together. My brain kept flipping through every childhood memory like a broken projector. The time I asked why we didn't have baby pictures of me, she said they got lost in a move. The time I found a Mother's Day card with "Tamel, from Eleanor, shoved in a drawer. The weird pause she always made when I asked about my birth story. I thought she was just cold. Or forgetful. Turns out, she was hiding my whole damn life. I didn't even give her time to make excuses. The next morning, I drove straight to her place. I walked in without knocking, because why start pretending now? And she was in the kitchen, drinking coffee like it was just another Tuesday. She looked up and smiled, but froze the second she saw my face. "What's wrong?" she asked, too calm. I pulled the letter out of my pocket and dropped it on the counter. She looked down, read the handwriting on the envelope, and her face went pale. "Oh," she whispered. "That was it." "Oh." That one syllable felt like a slap. "You knew?" I said. My voice was shaking. "This whole time, you knew she was my mom. And you lied to me. Every single day." She didn't deny it. She didn't even try. Instead, she put her mug down slowly and sat at the table like she was bracing for impact. "I was trying to protect you." That line. That tired, worn-out line people always say when they screw you over. Protect me from what? From knowing the truth? From knowing who I actually am. She sighed. "Alyssa, you don't know what it was like back then. Your mom, Eleanor, she was a mess. She was using. She was disappearing for days at a time. I found you in a car seat on the front porch once while she was passed out inside. That image hit me like a punch to the stomach. She was sick," she went on. "Mentally. Physically. She loved you, but she couldn't take care of you. CPS was about to step in. I stepped up. I didn't do it to hurt you. I didn't want to believe it. I wanted to scream at her, throw something, break something. But deep down I remembered how often I'd heard the name Eleanor said with bitterness. How every time I asked about her, the air in the room would go stiff. "So you raised me," I said. "But you never told me the truth." "What?" She hesitated. "Because I was afraid that if you found out, you'd choose her." I just stood there. She finally looked up, tears in her eyes. "I didn't want to lose you, Alyssa. I already lost my sister. I couldn't lose you too." There it was. The core of it all. Fear. And I get it in some way. But at the same time, she took away my choice. She let me grow up believing I was unwanted, abandoned, forgotten, when in reality, my real mom was still there, still watching, still loving me, from a distance. "I could have had a relationship with her," I said. "Even if she couldn't raise me, we could have had something. But you made sure that never happened." Her voice cracked. "I didn't know how to do this right. I wasn't perfect. But I gave you everything I had." And that was true. In her own flawed way, she really did try. She gave me shelter, food, some sense of family, even if it was cold and complicated. But now I understood why she kept me at arm's length. Why affection was so rare. Because I was a reminder. Of her sister. Of the fight. Of the lie. And suddenly, I felt heavy. Not just angry. Sad. Because no matter how much I screamed, I couldn't change what happened. "You should have told me," I whispered. "I know," she said. "I just didn't know when." And then it felt too late. I stood there for a long time before walking out. I didn't slam the door. I didn't yell. I just left. And the craziest part? I don't know if I hate her. I think part of me still loves her, in a confused, scarred kind of way. But now I need time. Space. To figure out who I am without all the lies. Because if I was never really Alyssa Calloway, who am I now? The truth about my dad was buried in her journals. It's weird how silence can be louder than yelling. That's what the house felt like after the confrontation. Silent, but screaming. Every corner of it seemed to carry a different memory, a different version of Eleanor. The more I walked around, the more I realized how little I actually knew about her. Yes, she was my mom. But who was she really? She left me money, a house, a letter. But she didn't leave me a name for my father. Not in the letter, not in the will, not anywhere obvious. I didn't even know where to start, until I remembered something from the tour the lawyer gave me. There was a storage room in the basement, Eleanor's archives, he called it. She was apparently obsessed with journaling and documenting everything. He said it like it was cute. So I went down there. It was dusty, cold, and smelled like cedar and old paper. Dozens of plastic bins and boxes lined the wall, labeled by year. And there, in a gray bin labeled 2003 to 2005, I found them. Her journals. Beautiful hardcovers with soft leather binding, each dated by month. I flipped through them like I was holding someone's actual heart in my hands. And then, somewhere in March 2004, just 4 months before I was born, I found a page that made my stomach drop. I saw him again today. He said we need to stop seeing each other. That it's too risky. That if Mel finds out, it'll destroy everything. But it's too late. I'm already late. I know what that means. I froze. If Mel finds out. Mel. My mom. I kept reading. I hate how I let myself fall for him. I told myself it was a fling. A distraction. But it became more. He made me feel seen. Not just like Mel's broken sister. And now I'm pregnant, and I can't tell anyone. Not even him. Especially not him. My heart was pounding. This wasn't just some anonymous guy. It was someone connected to Mel. Someone who was already in our lives. I flipped pages desperately. Most of the entries after that were about fear, loneliness, trying to make a plan. Nothing that said his name outright. Until July 1st. I saw him with Mel today. Laughing. Holding her hand. I wanted to scream. How can he pretend like nothing happened? Like I don't exist? Like this baby isn't his? I sat down on the cold basement floor and just stared at the page. He was with Mel. In 2004. So I did the math. I was born in July 2004. That means I was conceived around October 2003. Who was Mel dating back then? And then it hit me. Greg. Greg, Mel's old boyfriend. The only man she ever dated long-term. The guy who was around when I was little, who vanished when I was maybe 4 or 5. I barely remembered him, just fragments. His beard, the smell of his cologne, how he used to bring me those little jelly bracelets from the gas station. My hands were shaking. If Eleanor had been sleeping with Greg, then my biological father was my mom's ex-boyfriend. The man who helped raise me, who changed my diapers, taught me how to ride a bike, may have known all along that he was my real dad. Or worse, maybe he didn't. I don't know what's worse. I slammed the journal shut and just sat there for a long time, breathing, shaking, trying to make sense of it all. Everything was connected. The distance, the coldness, the lies. Eleanor and Mel weren't just estranged over some family drama. They were in love with the same man, and I was the proof of it. Now I have a name. Greg Sanders. He disappeared from my life over a decade ago. But something tells me he didn't disappear for no reason. I should have come back for you. Finding Greg wasn't hard. Thanks to the name from Eleanor's journal, and honestly, Facebook, I tracked him down in less than an hour. Turns out he never left the state. He lives about 2 hours away, works as a mechanic, married, no kids. I stared at his profile picture for like 20 minutes. He looked older, gray at the temples, tired eyes, but still had that same strong jawline I vaguely remembered from childhood. I couldn't explain it, but something about his face just clicked in me. And then I messaged him. Simple, direct. Hi Greg. I know this is random and probably really uncomfortable, but I think you might be my biological father. I found out some things recently, and I just want to talk. One time. Please. I didn't expect him to reply. Not fast, at least. But 10 minutes later. Where can we meet? We met at a diner halfway between our towns. I wore a hoodie and jeans, trying to disappear. He walked in looking nervous, like he'd been carrying a secret for way too long and wasn't sure if this was the day it would finally destroy him. He sat down across from me. We didn't even order anything. He just looked at me for a long time, and then said, "You look just like her." He didn't mean Mel. He meant Eleanor. I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. So you knew? He sighed. I suspected. For a long time. But your mom, Mel, told me I wasn't. That it was a one-time thing. A mistake. She said she got pregnant after we broke up. I blinked. Wait. She told you I wasn't yours. He nodded slowly. I believed her. Or maybe I wanted to believe her. Because the truth was messy. I sat back. You were with her. But you slept with her sister. He rubbed his face with his hands. Yeah. It wasn't planned. Eleanor and I, we had this connection. I don't know how to explain it. Mel was fire, intense, stubborn, always in control. But Eleanor, she saw parts of me no one else did. We both felt invisible around your mom, I guess. That made my stomach twist. Being the byproduct of betrayal, it hits differently. He went on. I didn't know about the pregnancy until after I left. Mel told me she had a baby, but said it wasn't mine. I believed her. I moved on. But I never forgot you. Tears pricked at my eyes. I used to think about you all the time. Every time I'd see a little girl with dark curls and big brown eyes, I'd wonder. I looked down at my hands. They were shaking. So why didn't you come back? Ask for a test? Try to know me. He was quiet for a long time. Then finally, he said, because I was scared. And because your mom made it very clear I wasn't welcome. I figured if you ever wanted to find me, you would. I just didn't think it'd take 19 years. Silence. Heavy, but not bitter. And then he asked, softly, so, what do you want from me now? I didn't know what to say. I wasn't looking for a dad. I wasn't even sure I wanted a relationship. But I wanted something to anchor me. A thread that tied me back to who I really was. And maybe he did too. I don't know, I admitted. But I guess. I want to start somewhere. Even just a conversation. He smiled. Then let's talk. We talked for over an hour. About Eleanor. About the past. About everything. And at the end, when I stood up to leave, he reached into his wallet and pulled out a folded picture. Faded. Torn at the edge. It was me. At maybe 2 years old. In his lap. I kept it, he said. I never stopped wondering. I broke down crying. Right there in the middle of that booth. In public. In front of a man I just met. But who had loved me in the quiet, secret way no one ever told me about. That was 2 months ago. We still talk. Not every day, but often. He's taking things slow, letting me lead. And you know what? So am I. I've been living in Eleanor's house. Slowly fixing it up. Turning it into something that feels like mine. I even started a blog, sharing bits of the journey, anonymously for now, but it feels healing. Mel hasn't spoken to me since. Maybe someday, we'll talk again. Maybe not. But for now, I'm okay. Because for the first time in my life, I know who I am. And I know I wasn't forgotten. Or unwanted. Or abandoned. I was just hidden. But I'm not hiding anymore. The life I never expected. And the peace I finally deserve. It's been 6 months since I opened that letter. 6 months since the knock on the door. Since the inheritance. Since my world split in half. And somehow, I'm still standing. People think when you find out something that big, like who your real mother is, or who your father actually was, your whole identity changes overnight. But the truth? It's slower. Messier. It's not a thunderclap. It's 1,000 little realizations spread out over long, quiet mornings. I wake up now in a house that doesn't feel haunted anymore. It feels warm, like someone who finally let go of an old pain. I keep Eleanor's photo on the hallway table. Some mornings I say good morning to it. Sometimes I don't. But she's there, still with me. In the smell of the lavender in the drawers. In the books she left half highlighted. In the journals. God. The journals that I still read when I miss her too much to breathe. I wish I could have known her. Really known her. But maybe, in a strange way, I do now. Greg, my biological father, has become more than just a name in a journal. He's human. Flawed. Real. He's come over a few times to help me fix up the garden. He brought me coffee on my birthday. He said he used to imagine doing that when I was little, and I let him. We're not trying to make up for lost time. We're just making time now. Mel, well, we haven't talked. Not since I confronted her. I sent her a letter. Told her I forgave her, even if I didn't fully understand her. I don't expect a reply. Maybe she'll write back one day. Maybe not. But either way, I've made peace with it. Because I've learned that sometimes family is just a story we grow into. And sometimes it's one we write ourselves. I'm not the scared, confused girl I was when this started. I'm not just a girl who got lucky with an inheritance. I'm a daughter of a woman who made a mistake but still loved me. I'm a survivor of silence, of shame, of lies that were meant to protect me. And more than anything, I'm free. I've started school again, online for now. I'm majoring in psychology. I want to understand people, patterns, why we hurt each other even when we love each other so much. I think Eleanor would be proud. I think I'm proud too. So if you're still here, reading this, wondering what the point of this whole crazy story was, it's this. Sometimes, the truth shatters everything. But what you rebuild after can be stronger than you ever imagined. I was never lost. I was never broken. I was just waiting to find the version of me that was hiding behind all the secrets. And now, I found her. Speech Balloon, thank you for listening to my story. If you ever feel like life has left you behind, please know, sometimes it's just waiting to begin.